Hey everyone, this is Karen with naturallywithkaren.com, and I'm bringing you this video to give you some insight about someone who's moved with dogs for over 57 years now, and I regularly go to dog parks all across the country. I want to talk a little bit about dog parks. Save this video, share this video, share it with other people that go to dog parks because it's really important. And it's important for the dogs as well as it is for us humans. So let's get started, okay? Whether you've got, like I do, I've got a pack, and the smallest in my pack is a 5-pound teacup applehead Chihuahua who I inherited. I'm grandma to Pablo. And I have a German Shepherd mix who's 95 pounds, who's white. And I also have a Rottweiler in our pack. They are companions. I do not own them, who is 160 pounds. And I can take all three of them to dog parks, out on trails, and out with me, and they're really well behaved. 99.9% of the time, because no one can predict 100% of the time. So you always want to be prepared. When you go into a dog park here in Duluth, Minnesota, Jean Duluth Dog Park, Observation Dog Park, over in Superior, there's a dog park, Wisconsin, where I go down to the cities at the Arlington Arkwright Dog Park in St. Paul, as well as the Battle Creek 25-acre dog park. It's really, really important to know that they are off-leash dog parks. So from the time your leashed dog walks to the gate and before, key point here, before you enter the dog park, the leash is removed. Why? What's the big deal? Well, if I go to the Warming House Dog Park, which is owned by a coffee shop and a burger place in town, and thankfully that's the only dog park we have, and I'm thankful for it, to the owners of Gordy's and the Warming House. But it is a dog park that says right on the big sign, off leash. What a lot of people don't know, they might have small dogs, big dogs, they might feel like my dog might not come back to me. I'm afraid of some of the other dogs I see in the dog park. They look intimidating, and those are all super legit. We know those things really happen. Those thoughts really happen. That dog looks intimidating. I don't want to make sure I can get my dog out of here if I need to. But it defeats the purpose of an off-leash dog park. And for that reason, when you walk into the Jean Duluth Dog Park and many others, it says right on the dog park rules, no children under 8 or 9, because dogs can knock them over. And it says, unleash your dog in the park. Now, what happens for a lot of people is they're getting ready to leave the dog park, and they say, well, I'm going to put my leash on halfway through and walk the dog out. Otherwise, I might not be able to get my dog to leave the dog park. I sure get that. That's pretty important. However, for the dogs like the Rottweiler that I have, and dogs that many people have, especially larger dogs, they can be incited. They're not aggressive, bad dogs. But when you connect a collar around the neck to another being and you leash it to you, dogs are much more sensitive to energy, just like Caesar talked about, the dog whisperer, right? Well, I was raised the same way, okay? To communicate with the animals and to exhibit stable energy. So now it makes sense, you want to leash your dog and walk him out of the dog park, but it doesn't make sense to the dog that may have a higher prey drive. A German Shepherd, a Doberman, a Pit Bull, a Staffordshire, a Rottweiler, any of those dogs you're now putting us in the position of having to quickly grab our dog. Or if you're grabbing your dog and holding him up and, kind of swinging him around, those things incite what's called a prey drive, and it's going to create a problem in the dog park. But when I find myself speaking with people about it, they kind of go, huh? That doesn't make sense. Why don't you just not bring your dog to the dog park then? And I say, well, it's kind of unfair because I've got 3 dogs and he wants to get out and he's perfectly behaved as long as no one comes in with a leash on or is trying to walk their dog halfway across the park with a leash on or is picking their dog up and kind of, swinging them around. So the purpose of the dog park really is that dogs can get out and socialize with other dogs, right? Not that you go in and play ball with your dog. And not that you can't. I'm not saying it's not a good idea. But I'm saying the dogs have a chance to go be with their own kindred, to go play and run around and be dogs. The last thing we want to do is keep them neurotic and keep them close to our side and constantly attached to us, just like we do a lot of our human relationships, which is, you're mine. And you don't talk to anybody else, you don't text them, you don't talk to them, you don't go there, you don't go out without me. We're becoming much more obsessive and compulsive with dogs than we ever did before. We're getting better at certain things. But the one point that I really want to make in this video is that it really puts a hardship on people when you have a leashed animal inside of a dog park. And I'm saying this because instead of then painting a picture that an animal with prey drive or an animal that's triggered by a territory, a leash, is a bad animal, instead what you could do is see it that maybe you weren't abiding by the rules of the dog park, which is take the leash off before you enter and only put the leash on after you go into the second gate so that you're exiting the dog park. Okay? One more thing about dog parks is that if you're bringing young children and babies in, you need to know that that's not a children's park, that's a dog park. And if the children get bowled over by the dogs, I've had to buckle my knees and almost get knocked to the ground. I can't even tell you the number of times I've seen people knocked to the ground in a dog park. Sturdy people too. Big people. But if you've got a pack of 8 dogs, kind of running around having fun being dogs, which is the purpose of the dog park, and you've got young children toddling and walking around in there, you're asking for trouble. Let it be a dog park. Let it be off leash. Understand that you're going to create a problem for the people when you put a leash on your dog. So please leash the dog before and after you enter the dog park, and then there won't be problems. Now I want to share kind of some funny stories, but at the warming house I had dog park in Cloquet, Minnesota. I had one man come up with his pug, and he said to me when my Rottweiler that's with us started kind of barking, because animals will do what's called fence fighting. So if his dog's sitting there on a leash and he's holding it up to the fence, and the pack of my 3, and plus there were a few other dogs, come up, and he says, well, that looks like it looks like I don't feel safe bringing my dog. I said, I can understand that. And I want to assure you that when your companion is off the leash and you bring your companion in, everything will be fine, and I'll make sure of it. It's always been the case. We go to dog parks across the country. And he said, well, I'm just going to let you know that my dog costs a lot more than yours. This is an expensive dog, and it costs a lot of money. And he really got vexed up about it. And I said, is it really about what you paid for this beautiful being? Or did you adopt this being, and your being is just as worthy as these 3 beings and our 2 beings? Are we not all worthy of love and respect? Right? So I said, sir, why don't you give me a moment? And we can be done here. And I packed up my 3 and put them in the car, and I left. I find myself, especially at small town where people really haven't gone to dog parks much, and they really don't know that much about dogs. If you mention that you're an animal communicator, they think it's something way out in left field, when in fact it's just another language, it's another form of communication. I find myself, the minute someone's going to come in, almost needing to go over to the entry gate, because there's a little area that's got 2 gates on it. So you come in with your dog on the leash, you unsnap the leash, you open the latch, and you walk into the dog park. And I find myself going to that area closest to it and saying, "You are coming in without a leash, right?" And it's gotten to that level that I would say probably 1/4 of the people that come in legitimately expect, as last night a young man was playing with the ball in there by himself and dragging around his golden lab. You know, a big 60, 65-pound dog that didn't even get to run around the time he was in the dog park, while the rest of the family was eating burgers and fries on the table in the dog park, which is not a good idea as well. I mean, the dogs are going to feel hungry. Don't make someone responsible, if you're going to be eating in the park, for, their dog doing that. And sometimes we have to. We're in a rush. We got to let the dog out. We got to eat really quick. But if you have the choice and there are 3 tables lined up right outside of the dog park, eat outside of the dog park. And then you won't be bothered with dogs coming over and lifting their leg behind you on the table, which I've seen a lot of times, and people have no idea it's happening. So what did you get from this video? Tell everyone, share this video, go to naturallywithkaren.com and sign up for my email list. Let's learn together, not because I'm the know-it-all, not because I think I'm so much better than anyone, but because together we rise, okay? So don't bring your dog or leash your dog. Take your dog by the collar and walk him out, or develop a communication with your animal, but don't leash him inside the dog park. Please, please don't do that. All right, until next time, have a beautiful day.